The phone rang during lunch. I wiped my hands and answered, expecting a spam call about my car's extended warranty. Mrs. Porter? This is Agent Martinez from the Internal Revenue Service. My stomach dropped. Those words never meant good news. We're conducting a surprise audit on joint filings under your name and your husband's. There are significant discrepancies we need to discuss. I gripped the counter. Discrepancies. Multiple unreported accounts, irregular deductions and withdrawn funds. Can you come in this week? My mind raced. Nathan handled our taxes. He always had. I trusted him completely. Of course, I managed. But I should probably speak with my husband first. Did you personally authorize the filings submitted in March? Agent Martinez interrupted. I froze. March. Nathan told me he'd filed everything. I'd signed where he pointed, barely reading the pages he rushed me through. I signed documents, yes. We'll need to verify that. Thursday at 2. I agreed numbly and hung up. My hands shook as I immediately called Nathan. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. The agent's question echoed in my head. Did you authorize these filings? I stared at my phone waiting for Nathan to call back. He didn't. I sat at our kitchen table, phone in hand, replaying the last 3 months in my head. How many times had I called Nathan about our finances? 10. Every time the same response. I'm busy, Lila. I'll handle it. When the credit card statement showed charges I didn't recognize, he'd brushed it off. Work expenses. I'll sort it out. When I asked about our savings account balance, he'd gotten defensive. Why are you questioning me? Don't you trust me? I'd backed down every time, swallowing my concerns, telling myself he knew better. Now, sitting alone in our too-quiet house, I realized something chilling. This wasn't sudden. This was intentional. I opened our shared laptop, the one we'd used for years to track expenses and store important documents. The folder labeled Taxes 2024 was empty. I clicked on Bank Statements. Also empty. Insurance. Nothing. Every financial folder we'd maintained had been wiped clean or moved. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the directory, finding gaps where critical files should have been. Nathan had deleted everything. Or hidden it. The question was, why? Nathan came home at 9 that night, whistling like nothing was wrong. I was waiting in the living room, laptop open, the empty folders displayed on the screen. Hey, he said casually, dropping his keys on the counter. What's for dinner? I got a call from the IRS today. He froze for half a second, then shrugged, irritation flashing across his face. Yeah. What about? A surprise audit. They mentioned discrepancies in our joint filing. Nathan sighed, loosening his tie. It's just a mistake, Lila. These things happen all the time. They flag random accounts for review. They specifically asked if I authorized the filings. And you did, he said sharply. You signed the forms, remember? I stood up slowly. Where are all our financial documents? The folders on the laptop are empty. I moved them to a secure drive. For safety. When? He paused. A few weeks ago. I pulled up a document on my screen. A tax form I'd found buried in the trash folder. The timestamp read March 15th. A Saturday. You filed our taxes on March 15th? Yeah. So. You told me you were away for work that weekend. In Boston. Nathan's jaw tightened. I filed them before I left. The timestamp says 9:47 p.m. His expression hardened. What is this, an interrogation? I'm trying to protect us and you're acting paranoid. I saved the document silently. Something was very, very wrong. The second call came Tuesday morning. Mrs. Porter, this is Agent Martinez again. We've reviewed your initial filing and I need to clarify something. I braced myself. Go ahead. You are listed as a joint filer, which means you share legal responsibility for any inaccuracies or omissions. Are you aware of that? My blood went cold. I didn't realize. Any unpaid taxes, penalties, or fraudulent claims fall on both parties equally. We'll need documentation proving your income sources, asset ownership, and signature authorization. Panic clawed at my throat. How much are we talking about? Until the audit concludes, I can't give you an exact figure. But based on preliminary findings, this could involve substantial penalties. I ended the call and sat frozen on the couch. Joint liability. I was responsible too. If Nathan had lied, hidden income, or falsified documents, I was legally on the hook just as much as he was. That night, after Nathan fell asleep, I crept back to the laptop and opened every file I could still access. I took screenshots of everything: emails, bank statements, transaction histories. If I was going down, I needed proof I hadn't known. Wednesday afternoon, I tried logging into our main savings account. Password incorrect. I tried again, carefully typing the password we'd used for years. Access denied. I stared at the screen, pulse hammering. Nathan had changed it. When he got home, I kept my voice calm. I tried checking our savings today. The password's not working. He barely looked up from his phone. Oh, yeah, I updated it. Security reasons. Can you tell me the new one? I'll text it to you later. He never did. That night, I created a private folder on my personal laptop, one Nathan didn't have access to. I labeled it Timeline and started documenting everything. Dates, conversations, failed login attempts, missing documents. If I was walking into a legal nightmare, I needed my own record of how we got here. I also made a decision. I wasn't going to trust Nathan's version of events anymore. I was going to find the truth myself. Over the next 2 days, I combed through every statement I could access. Most accounts were locked now, but I still had old email confirmations, PDFs I'd saved years ago, and bank alerts I'd never deleted. That's when I saw it. Small transfers. $50 here. $100 there. Always on the 10th of the month. Individually, they seemed harmless, hardly worth noticing. But when I lined them up over the past 3 years, the pattern was devastating. 12 transfers per year. Amounts varying slightly but consistent enough to look routine. Total moved, over $18,000. And I had no idea where the money went. The receiving account number was partially redacted in the notifications, but the bank name was clear. First Union Trust. We didn't have an account there. Or at least I didn't. I added the findings to my timeline folder and felt my stomach twist. These transfers had been happening for years. Quietly. Methodically. While I'd been asking Nathan about our finances, he'd been draining them behind my back. Nathan noticed me watching him more carefully. Thursday night he snapped. "What's your problem, Lila? You've been acting paranoid all week." "I'm just worried about the audit." "It's nothing. Stop blowing this out of proportion. They said we could face penalties. Because you're panicking and making it worse." His voice rose. "You always do this. You catastrophize everything." I force myself to stay calm. "I just want to understand what's happening." "There's nothing to understand. It's a routine check. We'll provide documents, they'll verify, and it'll be over." "Then why did you change all our passwords?" Nathan's face flushed. "For security." "God, Lila, do you ever stop?" I looked down, pretending to back off. "You're right. I'm sorry." He softened slightly, stepping closer. "I'm handling this. Trust me, okay?" I nodded. But I didn't trust him. Not anymore. The next morning, I called a financial advisor I found through a quiet online search. I scheduled a consultation under my maiden name. If Nathan thought I was backing down, he was wrong. I was just getting started. The financial advisor's office was small but professional. Her name was Claire Donovan, and she listened without interrupting as I explained everything. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair, expression serious. "Mrs. Porter, based on what you've told me, there are 3 major concerns." I braced myself. First, the unauthorized transfers suggest funds were diverted without your knowledge. Second, if taxes were unpaid or underreported on jointly filed returns, you're both liable. Third, and this is critical, intent matters. Intent. If you can prove you didn't know about the discrepancies, you may be able to separate your liability from your husband's. But you'll need documentation. I nodded. I've been collecting everything I can access. Good. Keep doing that. Also, get copies of anything filed under your name: tax returns, loan applications, business filings. If your signature appears on documents you didn't authorize, that's fraud. The word hit me like a slap. Fraud. "One more thing," Claire said. "Don't let him know you're investigating. If he's hiding assets, he could move or destroy evidence." I left her office feeling both terrified and validated. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. That weekend I went through old emails while Nathan was out. Buried in a folder marked Admin, I found a scanned PDF from 2 years ago. It was a business expense form submitted to Nathan's company for reimbursement. At the bottom, a signature, Lila Porter. I stared at it. That wasn't my handwriting. The loops were wrong, the slant too sharp. It looked similar enough to pass at a glance, but I knew my own signature. Someone had forged it. Nathan had forged it. My hands trembled as I saved the document to my timeline folder. This wasn't just negligence or poor financial management. This was deliberate. He had been signing my name, filing documents in my name, creating liability in my name, all without my knowledge. The betrayal shifted. It wasn't just that Nathan had ignored me or hidden things. He had actively used me as a shield. And I'd been too trusting to see it. I made a decision that night I would play along. When Nathan came home I smiled. I apologized for being emotional. I told him I trusted him to handle the audit. He visibly relaxed, pulling me into a hug. I knew you'd come around. It's going to be fine. I hugged him back, feeling nothing but cold resolve. Over the next week I acted compliant. I stopped asking questions. I laughed at his jokes. I pretended everything was normal. Nathan grew careless. He left his phone unlocked on the counter. He took calls in the next room without closing the door. He stopped checking if I was nearby when he opened his laptop. And I documented everything. I recorded dates of calls he took in hushed tones. I noted names mentioned in passing. I photographed receipts left in his jacket pockets. Nathan thought he'd won. He had no idea I was building a case. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. I almost threw it away assuming it was junk mail. But the return address caught my eye. First Union Trust. The bank from the mysterious transfers. I opened it carefully. Inside was a statement for an account I'd never seen before. Account holder, Nathan Porter. Balance, $43,281.19. I sat down hard, staring at the numbers. $43,000. Money I didn't know existed. Money that should have been in our joint savings. The statement showed regular deposits dating back 4 years. Some matched the amounts from the transfers I'd tracked. Others were larger. This wasn't just hidden money. This was systematic theft. I photographed every page and added it to my timeline folder. Nathan had built himself a safety net while leaving me exposed to legal consequences. The rage I felt was sharp and clarifying. He thought I was powerless. He was wrong. My audit interview was scheduled for Thursday at 2. I went alone. Nathan had offered to come, but I'd insisted he stay at work. No point in both of us missing time, I'd said sweetly. Agent Martinez was calm and professional. She asked detailed questions about our income, deductions, and joint accounts. I answered carefully, honestly, never lying, but never protecting Nathan either. Did you personally review the filed tax return before submission? No. My husband handled that. Did you authorize the business expense claims listed here? I wasn't aware of those claims. This signature appears to be yours. I leaned closer, examining the document. That's not my signature. Agent Martinez's expression shifted slightly. She made a note. Mrs. Porter, if you're alleging forgery, we'll need proof. I pulled a folder from my bag. Inside were samples of my real signature, the forged documents, and a notarized statement from a handwriting analyst Claire had recommended. Agent Martinez's tone changed as she reviewed the materials. This is very helpful. Thank you for your cooperation. I left the office feeling cautiously hopeful. For the first time I wasn't just reacting. I was fighting back. Nathan must have sensed something shifting. That weekend he was jumpy, checking his phone constantly, snapping at small things. Sunday night I saw him on his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. I pretended to read, watching from the corner of my eye. He opened his banking app, navigating to an account I didn't recognize. He initiated a transfer, then froze. What the hell, he muttered. He tried again. Same result. Transaction declined. Nathan's face went pale. He tried a third time, then slammed the laptop shut. Everything okay? I asked innocently. Fine, he said tersely. But he wasn't fine. Something had blocked his access. I later learned the IRS had flagged his accounts pending the audit results. Nathan's safety net was unraveling. And he had no idea I'd helped pull the thread. I met with Claire again the following Tuesday. The IRS can separate liability in cases of fraud or innocent spouse relief, she explained. If you can prove your husband deceived you, you won't be held responsible for his actions. What do I need to prove it? Evidence that he controlled the finances, excluded you from decisions, and forged your signature. Sounds like you have all three. I nodded. What happens next? You file for innocent spouse relief and formally request separation of liability. It's not just about avoiding penalties, Lila. It's about protecting your future. She paused. You're also going to need to think about divorce. The word hung in the air. Divorce. I'd been avoiding it, clinging to some hope that this was fixable. But Nathan hadn't just made mistakes. He'd deliberately, systematically betrayed me. How do I protect myself financially if I file? Claire walked me through the steps. Separate accounts, asset documentation, credit freezes. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was an exit strategy. That night I confronted Nathan. Not with yelling or accusations, with one simple question. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone when I sat down beside him. Nathan, can you explain why there's an account at First Union Trust with over $40,000 in your name only? He went completely still. What are you talking about? I received a statement. Accidentally mailed to our address. His face drained of color. That's old savings. From before we were married. The deposits are dated from the last 4 years. Silence. Nathan opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. I was saving for a surprise. For us. By hiding money and forging my signature on tax documents? His eyes widened. I have proof, Nathan. Handwriting analysis. Statements. Everything. The silence that followed was deafening. He couldn't answer. There was no explanation that would make this right. I stood up. I've filed for innocent spouse relief. The IRS knows I didn't authorize your filings. Nathan's face twisted. You're trying to ruin me. No, I said quietly. You did that yourself. I walked to the bedroom and locked the door. The next morning I opened my own bank account at a different institution. I redirected my paycheck, transferred what little money I had access to, and locked down my credit. Nathan didn't notice. Yet. He was too busy panicking, making frantic phone calls, trying to access the frozen accounts. I also met with a divorce attorney Claire recommended. Her name was Barbara Chin, and she was sharp, experienced, and unflinching. You've done excellent prep work, she said, reviewing my timeline folder. We'll file first before he has a chance to hide anything else. We'll also request a restraining order on joint assets. How long will this take? Depends on his cooperation. But based on what you've shown me, he doesn't have much leverage. I signed the retainer agreement that afternoon. There was no going back now. Nathan received his official notice from the IRS on a Wednesday. I was in the kitchen when he opened it, and I heard his sharp intake of breath. What the hell is this? I didn't answer. He stormed into the room, waving the letter. They're auditing me separately? They're separating our filings. Yes. You did this. His voice shook with rage. You turned them against me. I told them the truth. Nathan's hands trembled. You have no idea what you've done. This is going to destroy me. You destroyed yourself, I said evenly. I'm just protecting myself from going down with you. He stared at me, face red, jaw clenched. For a moment I thought he might yell, throw something, explode. Instead he turned and walked out. I heard the front door slam. 30 minutes later I received a text from Barbara. Papers are ready. We're filing tomorrow. I responded, good. 2 days later Agent Martinez called. Mrs. Porter, I wanted to update you on the audit findings. Go ahead. We've uncovered additional discrepancies tied exclusively to your husband's accounts. Unreported income from a side business, falsified deductions, and evidence of intentional tax evasion. My stomach dropped. How bad is it? The penalties and back taxes total over $60,000. There may also be criminal charges. Criminal charges. I closed my eyes. And my liability? Based on the evidence you provided, we're clearing you under innocent spouse relief. You won't be held responsible. The relief was dizzying. Thank you. Mrs. Porter, I have to say, what your husband did was deliberate and extensive. You're very fortunate you started investigating when you did. After the call, I sat in silence. Nathan hadn't just hidden money or fudged numbers. He'd committed fraud on a scale I hadn't imagined. And he'd tried to drag me down with him. Nathan's defense was predictable. Lila handled all the finances, he told his attorney during their first meeting. I trusted her completely. His lawyer called me trying to negotiate. Mr. Porter claims he had no knowledge of the discrepancies. I didn't hesitate. I have time-stamped emails proving he excluded me from financial decisions. I have forged signatures. I have bank statements showing accounts I never accessed. Mrs. Porter. I also have recorded voicemails of him refusing to discuss our finances. If he wants to claim ignorance, he'll lose. The lawyer hung up. 2 days later, Nathan tried again, this time directly. He showed up at the house looking haggard. Lila, please. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. No. I never meant for this to happen. I just wanted to hide money. Forge my name? Leave me responsible for your fraud. He flinched. I was protecting us. I handed him a folder. These are the divorce papers. You'll be served formally tomorrow. Nathan stared at the documents, hands shaking. You're really doing this? Yes. He left without another word. The financial collapse happened fast. Nathan's accounts were frozen pending the IRS investigation. His credit cards were declined. His access to joint assets was blocked by court order. He tried moving money from the hidden First Union account, but it had been flagged weeks ago. I watched from a distance, detached as his world crumbled. He called me twice, desperate. I didn't answer. He showed up at the house once. I didn't open the door. His family reached out asking what happened. I sent them copies of the forged signatures and the IRS letters. They stopped calling him. Nathan had built his safety net on lies, theft, and fraud. Now there was nothing left to catch him. I submitted my final documentation packet to Agent Martinez on a Friday. It included everything: the timeline folder, financial records, legal filings, handwriting analysis, and a notarized statement detailing Nathan's deception. This is incredibly thorough, she said. Thank you for your cooperation and your patience. Will there be any further action required from me? No. Your portion of the audit is closed. You're cleared. I felt a weight lift. And Nathan? Mr. Porter will be facing significant penalties, repayment plans, and potential criminal prosecution. That's separate from your case now. I thanked her and hung up. It was over. My name was clear. My liability was gone. Nathan would face the consequences alone. I filed for divorce the following Monday. Nathan was served at his office. A humiliation he hadn't anticipated. Barbara moved quickly, securing protections on all assets, freezing joint accounts, and filing for emergency spousal support given Nathan's financial mismanagement. He tried to contest, but his lawyer had nothing to work with. The forged signatures, hidden accounts, and IRS findings destroyed any credibility he had. Within 3 weeks we had a settlement. I kept the house, my retirement accounts, and my car. Nathan took his debts, his penalties, and his frozen accounts. The divorce was finalized in 60 days. I signed the papers in Barbara's office, feeling nothing but relief. The final twist came a month later. Nathan had been relying on the First Union account, his secret safety net, to pay his attorneys and cover basic expenses. But the IRS had flagged it. When he tried accessing it after the divorce, the account was seized. Every dollar frozen. He called me panicked. Lila, please. I need that money. I'll lose everything. You already did. Please. I hung up. He'd built that account on stolen money, forged documents, and lies. Now it was gone. Just like his marriage, his credibility, and his future. Nathan's consequences mounted over the following months. The IRS imposed penalties totaling $68,000. He was placed on a repayment plan that would take years to clear. His employer launched an internal investigation after the fraud came to light. He was quietly let go. He moved into a small apartment across town, his credit destroyed, his reputation ruined. Meanwhile, I received official confirmation from the IRS. I was fully cleared. No penalties. No liability. I also received a settlement from the divorce that secured my financial future. Nathan had tried to bury me under his crimes. Instead, he'd buried himself. 6 months later, I sat in my living room. My living room now legally and fully mine. Sipping coffee and reviewing my finances. The house was quiet. Peaceful. I'd started a new job, rebuilt my savings, and even taken a weekend trip to the coast. For the first time in years, I felt free. I thought about Nathan sometimes, but not with anger or bitterness. Just with quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice. He'd ignored my calls, dismissed my concerns, and tried to make me complicit in his fraud. But I'd fought back. Calmly. Methodically. And I'd won. I opened my laptop and deleted the timeline folder. I didn't need it anymore. The past was closed. The future was mine. And as I looked out the window at the morning sun, I smiled. Ignoring the wrong woman can cost you everything. Nathan learned that the hard way.